Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today we are here with another episode of Talk About It Thursday. Today we're going to be talking about a hot topic here on Booktube, and that's whether you're reading enough or not. The reason that I wanted to make this video is because a couple times I've received comments from people on my videos asking me how I read so much and if I could provide some tips on that. And yes, there are a few tips to read more, but I actually don't know if it's healthy to fixate on how much we're reading. I'm a big fan of qualitative reading over quantitative reading. So if your quality of your reading is suffering because you're trying to just speed read through as many books as possible, then I don't know if that reading is really providing value. So I think all of us that are involved in bookish social media, whether it's Booktube, Book Talk, Bookstagram, or Book Twitter, blogging, what have you, feel some pressure to keep up with what books are being published recently, challenging ourselves, creating enough content for our viewers or readers to be interested in, keep things, relevant. And naturally that can lead to some pressure to read an excessive amount of books just to always have fresh content. Now, some of us read 2 books a month, some of us read 20 or 30 books a month. So in deciding if we're reading enough or not, I feel like there is some information to take into consideration. So before we get into a discussion of the things that affect how much we read and why you should or shouldn't read more, I just want to give some health guidelines and some interesting information that has to do with medical research around reading and its benefits. The information that I'm providing is going to be in reference to a study done by the University of Michigan. It was a 24-year-long study, and the basis of the study was health and retirement. So the people that participated in the study performed different activities for different quantities of time on a daily basis over many, many years. And the University of Michigan tracked the results on people's health. Some of the things that they found from the study were that reading is beneficial in several different ways. It can improve focus, memory, and empathy. It can help you to communicate more effectively by improving grammar and building vocabulary. It is indeed a stress reducer. It enhances imaginative and cognitive abilities. And they found that people that read frequently have an enhanced capacity for learning. I don't know if any of those things are particularly shocking. I think we all know that reading benefits vocabulary, benefits creativity, benefits cognitive abilities, things like that. But how much do you actually have to read to reap those benefits from reading? The university said it's pretty simple, only about 30 minutes per day, and even like 15 minutes is better than no minutes. So really, if you're trying to get the most benefit out of reading, and you want to set yourself some sort of a quantitative goal, then 30 minutes of reading per day is what you need to be meeting to give yourself the full benefits of reading. Additionally, there are some statistics that show that those that read fiction, nonfiction, and poetry are 23% less likely to die in any given period of study time. I have to wonder if that's because you're safely tucked into your house reading and reducing your stress by reading instead of like being outside where there's things that are like possibly more likely to happen. I didn't find a whole lot of data around that particular figure or how they assess that exactly, but it was an interesting little factoid that was included in some of the research I was doing. So one of the things that I see on Booktube a lot, both by the people that are posting Booktube videos and by the people that are commenting on Booktube videos, is this desire to figure out how to read more books. I understand the pressure to want to read 20 or 30 books. I feel it myself sometimes. I'm thinking about the videos that I'm going to create and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to read so many books to have things to talk about. But at the end of the day, I really don't. And the pressure is self-imposed. It's not anything that anyone expects from me. Nobody here at Booktube has ever been like, hey, Caitlin, you have to read 30 books a month or you have to read 20 books a month. That's something I'm putting on myself. It's a perception that I have created for myself. And the thing that that perception creates is stress. And reading is supposed to be a relaxing, de-stressing activity. It's supposed to be the thing that at the end of the day, I pick up a book and slip into a fantasy world to forget about everything that I dealt with all day long. So by creating stress and pressure around how many books I need to read, I automatically am taking away from that goal of de-stressing myself by reading. One thing that I have seen within the pandemic is a level of intensity in hobbies and side hustles that people didn't necessarily have previously. So what I mean is that during the pandemic, the majority of people were stuck at home and not working, and not having really, really busy days. So it gave us a lot of time to focus on our hobbies and the things that we enjoyed. And a lot of people started creating social media around their hobbies, trying to create side hustles out of their hobbies. They took things that they usually use to decompress at the end of the day and started putting a lot of pressure and emphasis on them. And I think that even though it might not be to the same degree, I think some of that attitude has continued to carry over post-pandemic. So while most of us have returned to our jobs, to our normal routines with our children and our families and things like that, we still have that desire to have this cool side hustle or this intensity about our hobbies that isn't necessarily always compatible with the lifestyle that we have in the moment. So I think that's one thing when we're considering if we're reading enough or not that we have to look at is, our reading healthy? Is our desire to read more healthy? Is it like, hey, I'm not reading at all and I want to just read one book a month? Or is it like, hey, I already read 10 books in a month, but I want to get to 20? And then if you want to get to 20 from 10, why? Is it a healthy reason? Is it because you enjoy reading so much and you feel like you need more reading in your life? Or is it because you feel like Booktube is forcing you to read more? The second thing that I wanted to discuss in relation to how much we're reading is if you're trying to increase your reading, right? So say that you already read 3 books a month and your goal is to read 5 books a month. At the speed in which you have to read 5 books, are you going to be able to really fully absorb what you're reading? Or are you going to be rushing through, skipping passages, skimming lines, trying to hit just a certain page number? Because again, that qualitative reading is so important. And if you're just skipping through books and you find yourself at the end like, hey, I barely remember what happened in this book because I rushed through it so much, then is it really that beneficial to continue reading at that rapid of a rate? One other thing that I wanted to discuss in relationship to this is that overexertion and stress both have an extraordinary effect on the brain. When our body is full of cortisol from stress, we have issues with memory, with focus, with sleep, and it kind of trickles down from the top to the bottom. So you might start having issues sleeping, or your memory might feel a little fuzzy, or your focus is not that sharp. And so by creating extra stress, by putting these arbitrary numbers on how much we want to read, and by forcing ourselves to constantly read more, we create more stress, we create more exertion, and we put ourselves in a position where our brain might not actually be getting the rest that it needs, right? Because we're in a place of mental stimulation throughout our day, right? Most of us have jobs which require a lot of mental load. Most of us have families or partners or friends that require mental load. Most of us have other hobbies and things that we do that require mental load. Maybe you have a pet that requires mental load, a house that you have to care for that requires mental load. All of those things place a load on your brain throughout the day. So that reading that went from being, hey, 20 or 30 minutes at the end of the night to decompress to now, oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock at night and I have to read 200 pages so I can shoot this video tomorrow. That becomes a mental load. It becomes a task. It places more stress on your brain. And if you don't give yourself a break from that, if you continue to push yourself to read more and do more and constantly be busy, and it goes from relaxing break time to being like a part-time job, then it doesn't have that beneficial effect of relaxing and decompressing, and it can actually become a detrimental habit. So some of the indicators that I personally use to assess whether I'm reading enough is, number 1, enjoyment. If I'm still enjoying what I'm reading, if I'm still enjoying putting the books on my shelf, if I'm still enjoying talking about the books, and I'm not doing it out of a sense of duty or obligation or peer pressure, then I think that's a healthy habit. Does it feel beneficial to me? So sometimes I read books that are difficult, that take effort, that are maybe slightly stressful, usually like in the nonfiction genre, but am I learning something from it? Did I pick up a book that's about a subject I don't know and I'm teaching myself something new? And then the third thing is it healthy? Am I sacrificing other parts of my life to read? Is my relationship with my partner still good? Is my relationship with my parents still good? Am I still performing well at work? Is my house still, the way that I want it to be? Is my pet still cared for? Do I still see my friends? Do I still do other things besides reading? As long as my answers are all yes, and reading hasn't turned from something I enjoy into a weird obsession, then I think I'm okay. And I feel that that's probably something that affects others as well. So if your reading is suddenly becoming stressful, or you feel like you're in a competition, then maybe you shouldn't be reading more. Maybe you should stop and reassess your situation and reassess your love for reading and reassess like a healthy relationship with reading and taking it from being competitive back to being a thing that you enjoy doing. So all of that to say, do you really need to read more? I don't know. My guess is that you're probably reading enough already. And I hope that you're really enjoying it. I hope that it's a beneficial process for you. And I hope that neither I nor anyone else on social media ever convinces you otherwise. I hope that reading remains a healthy and positive experience for you, because that's certainly what it is for me. And I would never encourage anyone else to turn it into anything otherwise. So I hope that this ramble made some sort of sense. I tried to be a bit coherent, but I know that I am kind of a tangential thinker and sometimes I shoot off in different directions. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know, do you ever feel pressure to read more? Do you ever feel like you're not reading enough? If so, why? Let's talk about it. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell, so that way you never miss a video and we can see each other again soon. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.